Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. I really hope you all are doing well and having a wonderful day so far. So today's video is going to be all about houseplants. I feel like I have quite the collection going on over here, and I have been taking care of houseplants from last 5 to 6 years, and initially I was not good at it whatsoever, but eventually I have learned my lessons. So I thought let me just share a few of my favorite houseplants which you can get for your home, which will look beautiful, aesthetic, and also purify the air at the same time. I feel like houseplants acts as a perfect decor item, and it also brings a sense of peace and calm, and I really love the idea of bringing nature indoors as well. So yeah, let me share all of the houseplants I have, and also in the end I'll be sharing some of my easy simple tips which you can follow. Those tips are going to be very simple, nothing complicated, and I have been following those tips from last so many years, and all my houseplants are thriving. So yeah, without further ado, let's get started. Okay, so the first plant I have for you today is ZZ plant. I feel like this is one of my favorite plants to have, especially if you are somebody who is a beginner and you are not sure like if you can take care of plants. I feel like this is your plant because it's extremely low maintenance. You just plant it once and just forget about it. You do not need to water it that much. I like to water it once in 2 weeks if the topsoil is getting dry, because this does not require that much water, and this can thrive and survive in low light conditions as well. So if you are somebody living in an apartment where you do not have much light, still you want to incorporate house plants, I feel like this is your best option to go. I have had this plant from last 5 years, and I grew this plant from a cutting. So I had this much cutting and I just planted it. Initially I was like, it's not growing. It was just like this size for years, and then when it started to grow, this is how it looks now. So yeah, it's like it will take its sweet time to grow if you are growing it from the cutting, but you can get like a whole new plant from the nursery. I really like the leaves of it. The older leaves gets like darker green, and the newer leaves which comes in, it's very light and very soft, and just looks very nice and fresh inside the home. So yeah, I highly recommend ZZ plant to somebody who is a beginner or looking for a low maintenance plant, or also if you are somebody who just forgets to water your plant, this is your plant. Okay, next on the list we have this snake plant, and it's also called as mother-in-law's tongue. I feel like this is such a great plant to have, especially if you are somebody who is a beginner, because it's very low maintenance plant. You just plant it once and forget about it. It does not require a lot of maintenance, and you want to make sure that you are not over watering it, because if you over water it, the roots get rotten, and as a result of which the leaves also rot. So you don't want that. Very low maintenance, and it thrives in low light conditions as well. The ZZ plant and this plant acts as an excellent air purifier and is very low maintenance. Both can survive in low light condition, and I really like the shades of green this plant has. Light yellow on the top, light green, dark green. The combination of these three colors are extremely beautiful to me, and as I mentioned before, it also thrives in low light condition. That's why I've kept it in this corner. This does get indirect sunlight from the window over there, but I have had this plant for last 5 years. I think this was one of my first plant which I got when I was getting into all house plants and stuff, and it is still thriving. So earlier we used to live in an apartment and we didn't had lot of light. There was just one window in front, and yeah, it did really well over there. So if you are somebody who do not have access to much natural light, I feel like this is going to be an excellent option for you. Next on the list we have this beautiful Rakenia. I think I got this last year, and this was this much. It grew a few inches. Such a great low maintenance plant, and it thrives in indirect light. That's why I kept it here, and I do get like a lot of light from that window over there. But this can also adapt in low light situation, and you do not want to overwater this plant. You can water it when the topsoil is 50 to 70% dry, and this does not require that much water. So whenever the topsoil is dry, I just water it, and I have kept all my house plants in the pots with a drainage system, like hole in the back. That is the tip I will give you here. Make sure whatever house plants you are having, I don't care what plant it is, just make sure to use a pot with a drainage hole inside. That just ensures that the excess water comes out, and that way the root is not going to rot and eventually the plant dies, and we don't want that. We want our plants to be happy and thriving, and also can adapt in low light situation. But you never want to place this in the direct sunlight, because I have burnt in the past. I have kept this plant in the direct sunlight outside, and the leaves were literally bleached, it became yellow, and in the end it became transparent and the leaf basically died. So we don't want that. Water when the topsoil is very dry, like 50 to 70%. And yeah, moving on to the next on the list, we have this beautiful zebra plant. I have got 2 of these. This is a succulent and it requires very less water. I would say once in 15 to 20 days when the top is like extremely dry. I don't even think this has soil underneath. Let's see. Yep, there is no soil whatsoever. As you can see, there is moss and you can see the roots over here. If you are looking for a smaller plant, maybe to keep it on your desk or maybe decorate it like I did over here, I feel like this makes an excellent option. The leaves are really pretty. See, it has got like light green, dark green and white dots. Very unique and extremely beautiful. And as you can see, this one is also having a little bit of new growth over here and here as well. Super exciting. I cannot wait. I think I will have to change the pots after a while, but again, such a great low maintenance, still beautiful looking plant. Okay, next on the list we have this beautiful Moonlight Pothos. Really love the dark green leathery leaves. When I got this initially, it was really small, but it is thriving. One vine coming over here, another over here, and this is also such a great low maintenance plant. It requires indirect sunlight. You do not want to overwater it. Only water it when the topsoil is really dry. I water it in once in 3-4 days, or I'll just check the soil. If the soil is dry, then only I will water it, otherwise I don't. Okay, next on the list we have this incredibly beautiful Swiss cheese plant. This plant literally looks like a piece of art to me. Like, nature is amazing. Look at the leaves. It grows like this, and I have a yellow leaf over here. So this is another great tip. So whenever you see any yellow leaf over here, just cut it off. We don't need it. Initially this came in a very tiny pot and the plant was also very tiny, and I kept it in front of that door where this plant was getting direct sunrise light, and this grew so much, so I have to repot it. This Swiss cheese plant does require medium to bright sunlight, so if you are somebody looking for plants for any area of your home which does not get so much light, I would not recommend this. We also have this label over here which comes with the plant, which says it improves the mood, reduce fatigue and lowers the stress. And I totally get it. Why? Because this is so beautiful. Like, who will be stressed after looking at it? Like, you will be admiring it whenever you see it. So yeah, if you are looking for a really nice, great artistic plant, highly recommend this one. Next up on the list we have this beautiful prayer plant, and again, this is such a beautiful plant. I mean, look at the leaves. This does not even look real to me. And the best part about this one is that the leaves fold in the night and then it opens up in the morning. So that's why this plant is called as prayer plant. And this has this beautiful tricolor leaves. It has light green, dark green and various shades of green, as you can see. It's so pretty, and this loves indirect sunlight, so I have kept these 2 plants over there in front of the patio window. And when it comes to watering this plant, you do not want to overwater it. You want to water it only when the topsoil is 50 to 60% dry, and you want to make sure that whatever pot you're using always have a drainage hole, as I mentioned before, so that even if you overwater it, the excess water is coming out of this drainage hole. Okay, next on the list we have this beautiful baby rubber leaf plant. I got 3 of these plants which I mentioned, prayer plant, Swiss cheese plant together. They were a pack of 3 in Costco. I found them in Costco. So I feel like these all are very low maintenance. If you are somebody who have access to indirect sunlight, I highly recommend these plants. The leaves are really beautiful, thick, and it has so many shades of green. Again, when it comes to watering, you do not want to overwater it. You want to water it when the topsoil is 50 to 60% dry. Okay, next on the list we have this Chinese money plant, and this plant was growing like crazy. It was growing like everywhere, and I had like 2-3 new plants over here. Top part grew so much that it broke by itself, so I propagated it, and I have propagated in these 2 pots. I think I have propagated 1 more as well. So yeah, 1 is upstairs. So I have 3 new plants from a single plant. I feel like this one is easy to propagate. You just cut the stem and plant it, and it will thrive and grow again. This is such a beautiful plant. I mean, look at the leaves. The leaves are round, and yeah, it's very unique and looks very different to me. I feel like houseplants are such a great personalized gift idea, and I like repotting it into a nice pot and give it to some of my friends or neighbor. This is again a very easy low maintenance plant, but you want to make sure that you are not over watering it, because if you over water it, the leaves gets rotten, it will turn yellow, and then eventually it will turn brown and it will start falling. So you want to make sure you are only watering it when the topsoil is 70 to 80% dry. And I feel like this plant loves lot of light, not the direct sunlight, indirect sunlight, so that's why I have kept it here. Okay, next on the list we have this beautiful fiddle leaf fig plant. I feel like this plant is very popular and everybody has it. I wouldn't say this is a low maintenance plant, I would say it's a medium maintenance plant. This does require a little bit of extra TLC. This loves warm and humid environment, and this loves lot of natural light. That's why I have kept it in front of this window. I have 2 of these plants. So I got this when we moved into this house 1.5 years ago, and this plant was very small. I think it was this much, like this much, and it grew double the height. So that means I'm definitely doing something right. Make sure that you are shaking the plant sometimes once in a week, or the more the better. And for that I really prefer taking the plant out when it's nice and sunny and windy outside. That way it can get lot of natural sunlight and wind. So when it comes to watering, you do not want to overwater it. You want to water it when the soil completely dry. So I would recommend once in a week, only when the soil is dry. And I have planted this plant in a pot which is self-watering, and then I kept the whole thing inside a basket. But I always make sure that there is not a lot of water accumulating in the bottom. The only reason I have lot of self-watering pots is because whenever we travel, it comes in handy. So we just overwater the plants and we leave, and whenever the plants need water, they'll just suck the water from the underneath. So that comes in really handy. But whenever we are in home, I always make sure that there is not a lot of water remaining in the bottom. But yeah, this is such a beautiful plant, and definitely adds a lot of character to the room where you are going to put this in, especially because it has a very wide big leaves. And this plant literally gives me the vibe that I have transported nature from outside indoors. And I really like to turn this plant every now and then so that it does not grow on one side and just leans. I don't know how it will be when it grows like super tall, but right now whatever I am doing, that has been working and it's growing straight. So I thought of mentioning that. Okay, so next up we have peace lily, and this is also very popular plant, but here is mine, and this is growing in its fullest glory. This is such a great plant. I remember I got this 4 years ago. I was just strolling around Walmart and I found this on the clearance section. It was all droopy and sad, and it was I think $5-6 back then, and I was like, let me take a chance on this. What if it grows back? It was very little when I got it, and then I watered it. It's still there with me from last 4 years. So I highly recommend this plant. Very low maintenance plant, but it does require indirect sunlight. And when it comes to watering, this is very nice, because this will literally tell you when it needs water, because all its leaves will be like falling down, and it will not falling down like actually falling down from root, but then it will get like droopy and all sad. And once you water it, after half an hour or so, it will be again all nice and up, so green, so fresh. And it also flowers during spring and summer. I don't think I have any flowers as of now growing, but definitely when it's late March to April, we will see some blooms over here, and the flowers are really beautiful. It's white and it just looks very pure and serene. If you are somebody looking for a nice low maintenance flowering plant, I definitely recommend peace lily. Okay, next on the list we have this beautiful Monstera. I absolutely love this plant. So initially this plant was in our living area, and then I moved it here, and as you can see what happened, it grew like crazy. So I kept this plant sideways like this in front of the light, and this started growing sideways. As you can see, I think I made a mistake and I should be like turning it but I didn't do it. That's why it grew like this. But anyway, I really love the leaves of this plant. This plant will grow air roots like this, and if you want to propagate it, you can just cut it underneath the air root. That's what I did. I have quite a few cuttings which I did in my previous vlog. I feel like this adds such a tropical vibe to any home. Again, I would say this is not a low maintenance plant. It does require a little bit of maintenance, not a lot, but I would say it's a level 2 plant. You want to water it once every week until the top soil is like 40 to 50% dry. Loves natural sunlight, so that's why if you have a big window, you can keep the plant in front of that and you will see the magic happening, as you can see over here. And the older leaves get darker green and the newer leaves will be lighter green, as you can see over here. Okay, so now that I have talked about all of my house plants, I would really like to take a moment and talk a little bit about the tips which I like to follow when it comes to house plants, or some of the mistakes to avoid when it comes to house plants. So my number one tip has to be always use a pot with the drainage hole. That will ensure that you are not over watering the plant, and even if you are over watering the plant, the excess water will come out. That way your root will not rot. And my second tip is to repot your plants when you feel like it's growing out of the pot. Like I mentioned in my previous vlog, I had few plants which were in the very tiny pots and the roots were growing outside. So that's when you want to make sure that you are changing the pot. That way you are giving enough room for the plants to grow and eventually they can thrive. And also you want to repot the plant every 5 to 6 months. I usually do it this time, like in the beginning of the spring and in the beginning of the winter. So I just repot them twice a year. And when it comes to fertilizing the plants, I really like this one from Miracle Grow. Last time I got the liquid one, but this time it's in the powder form and you just want to mix it with water and give it to your plants. This packaging says you need to feed it every 7 to 14 days, but I do not do it. I do it like every month or 2 months whenever I feel like they need it. You just have to be very intuitive with the plants. It's weird to mention here, but then I know when which plants need what, so I do that. But the sweet spot for me is about a month or 2. Also, sometimes when I'm washing like rice or dal before making it, I take the water and water the plants with that as well. That way you're not wasting the water and also the plant is getting some extra nutrient. So I like to save eggshells and then crush it and add it into the garden soil. I have seen people baking it and then blending it in a blender and then adding it. You can totally do that, but we are here keeping things simple, so I just like to save the eggshells and dry it properly and then crush it with hands and add in the mid layer of the soil. And I feel like that really helps and all my plants are thriving, so I can definitely say that that works. If you see any bugs or if you see any white layer on the plant, I really like this product. This packaging says that it's multi-purpose fungicide, insecticide, 3-in-1 product. It kills eggs, larvae and adult stages of insects, prevents fungal attack of plant tissues, and this is for organic gardening. I really like this product and this definitely works. If you are looking for any natural alternative of insecticide, definitely recommend this neem oil spray. It works. And lastly, when it comes to watering, you want to make sure that you're only watering the plants when the top soil is dry. So that works with almost every house plant I shared. I only water the plants when I feel like the top soil is dry. That way you can prevent the rotting of the roots. My next tip is to use plant grow light, especially if you are somebody who lives in a place where you do not have access to natural light. You live in a colder region or you live in an apartment where your window is not in the right direction. So initially when we used to live in an apartment, we had few grow lights and we will clip it on top of the window, and that was really helpful. I would say 60% of the plant you have seen in today's video, they has been there with me from last so many years, and they have moved places with me, different apartments, different light situations, but grow light was something which was really helpful. So definitely recommend using grow light if you do not have access to natural light. And yeah, that was all for today's video. I really hope you enjoyed watching and found this helpful. I'm gonna link most of the products I talked about in my description box down below, so feel free to check. And yeah, thank you so much for spending time with me today. I really appreciate you all, and I will talk to you in my next one. Bye.